Prince Harry's reunion with King Charles may be turning into something more than a one-off thaw. After visiting the UK with Meghan Markle and their children in July, Harry is reportedly looking to return more and more over the next year. A source close to the Duke of Sussex told The Times that he wants a stronger foothold in Britain, with trips that focus more on his charities and less on legal and palace drama. The way the wind is blowing, he's going to want to be here more and more, the source said. Harry, 41, returned to the UK in July for events marking the one-year countdown to the 2027 Invictus Games in Birmingham. Meghan, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet joined him after a public back-and-forth between Harry and the palace over security concerns and accommodations. The Sussex family met Charles and Queen Camilla at Highgrove House, the king's private country residence in Gloucestershire. It was only Harry's third meeting with Charles since the monarch's 2024 cancer diagnosis, and the first time Charles had seen Archie and Lilibet in more than 4 years. The palace released no photos and shared no details about what was discussed. Sources told The Times that Harry was buoyed, very happy and really energized by the Highgrove meeting. The next stretch of visits may be driven partly by work. Harry has UK-based charities and patronages, including Well Child, the Halo Trust and Scotty's Little Soldiers, and the 2027 Invictus Games gives him a clear reason to be in Britain more often. One OK each day. Sign up here. What was the real mood during Harry's meeting with King Charles? How is Meghan feeling about Harry's frequent visits to the UK? What impact will Harry's charity work have on his relationship with the royal family? The template for his visits has been working well, so the frequency of trips will increase, especially in the run-up to Invictus, which he's determined to make the best games yet, a source close to Harry told the outlet. So he'll be coming back and forth a lot more every few months. Harry is expected to visit the UK in September for Well Child. It is not yet clear whether Meghan or the children will join him. Security remains a major factor. Harry has continued to seek review of his protection arrangements after losing a legal battle to restore automatic police protection in the UK. Following his and Meghan's 2020 exit from working royal life, the family's July trip also included a visit to Althorpe, Princess Diana's childhood home and burial place. Prince William remains the harder question. Former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond told The Mirror that William appears focused on his family and work, but said more frequent Harry visits could make the rift harder to ignore. Something has shifted in the relationship between Prince Harry and the royal family, and if the sources closest to this story are to be believed, it is far more significant than anyone in the palace is letting on publicly. After years of bitter distance, legal battles, and a memoir that shook Buckingham Palace to its foundations, Harry is apparently not done with Britain. In fact, sources close to the Duke of Sussex are now saying he wants to come back, more and more. And the question every royal watcher in this country is asking right now is, does the royal family actually want him to understand why this moment carries such weight? You have to go back and remember just how fractured this relationship became. When Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties in early 2020, it was framed publicly as a mutual decision, a chance for the couple to build financial independence and step away from the relentless scrutiny of British public life. But behind that careful palace language was something far messier. There were conversations that went badly. There were reported ultimatums. There were briefings to the press that neither side will fully account for to this day. Then came the Oprah interview in 2021, which landed like a grenade in the middle of the Windsor family's carefully constructed public image. Allegations of racism within the institution, concerns raised about Archie's skin color before he was even born, claims that Meghan had been denied mental health support. The palace's single-line response was cold and clinical. It did little to douse the flames. Then came Spare, Harry's memoir published in January 2023, which went further than anyone had anticipated. Physical altercations with his brother William were described in detail. His father Charles was portrayed as a man more concerned with his own image than his son's well-being. It was, by any measure, an extraordinary act of public disclosure from a member of the royal family. So when we talk about Harry now expressing a desire to visit the United Kingdom more frequently, we are not talking about a man returning from a pleasant holiday abroad. We are talking about someone attempting to rebuild a relationship with his family and his country of birth after a rupture so public and so painful that many observers believed it was permanent. The key development here centers on Harry's visit to the UK earlier this year to see King Charles following the King's cancer diagnosis. Reports at the time described the meeting as brief but meaningful. Palace insiders suggested it was the first time in a long while that father and son had been in the same room without lawyers, press officers, or the shadow of litigation hanging over every word. Sources indicate that Harry was deeply affected by seeing his father in that context, unwell and navigating something profoundly human. Whatever political or institutional grievances existed, and there are many, the illness of a parent has a way of cutting through all of it. What emerged from that visit, according to people familiar with the situation, was something tentative but real. A line of communication. A sense, perhaps for the first time in years, that the door was not entirely closed. And now, sources close to Harry are indicating that he wants to build on that. That he wants to return to the UK not just for emergencies or legal hearings, but with genuine regularity. More and more, as one source put it, with what sounds like either hope or quiet desperation depending on how cynically you read it. But here is where the tension lives, because wanting to return and being welcomed back are two very different things. Reports suggest that the relationship between Harry and his brother Prince William remains deeply strained, perhaps irreparably so. Sources within royal circles have indicated that William has drawn a very clear line. He has reportedly made it known through back channels that any reconciliation with Harry cannot simply paper over what was written in spare and said in interviews. For William, the issue is not merely personal hurt. It is institutional. He is the future king. Every word Harry has said publicly about the monarchy has, in William's view, undermined the very institution William has spent his adult life preparing to lead. Palace insiders have also noted that the question of Harry's security arrangements in the UK remains a live and deeply contentious issue. Harry lost his publicly funded protection when he stepped back from royal duties, and his legal challenge to that decision was unsuccessful. He has said that without adequate security, he does not feel it is safe to bring his children to Britain. This is not a small matter. It means that any increased visits would likely come without Archie and Lilibet, which raises its own complications for what reconciliation would actually look like in practice. The moment that appears to have genuinely changed something was that private reunion with King Charles. According to accounts from people close to the situation, the visit was not long, but it was unscripted in a way that royal interactions rarely are. There were no advisors steering the conversation. There were no communications teams hovering nearby. It was, by all accounts, simply a father and a son in the same room, with all the complicated history between them and the knowledge that time is not infinite. Sources indicate that Harry left that meeting with a changed perspective. Whatever anger or sense of injustice he arrived with, something softened. And for the king, who by all accounts has never stopped loving his younger son despite everything that has been said and written, the visit was reportedly meaningful in ways that will not be communicated through any official statement. It is worth noting that this shift comes at a moment when Charles himself appears to be in a reflective phase. His illness has, by multiple reports, prompted him to think carefully about legacy, about family, and about what kind of monarch and father he wants to be remembered as. Sources suggest he has expressed to people around him that he does not want the estrangement from Harry to be permanent. That he hopes for more time with his son, and eventually with his grandchildren Archie and Lilibet, whom he reportedly sees far too rarely. The aftermath of this developing story is already visible if you know where to look. The tone of coverage around Harry in the British press has shifted ever so slightly. There is still skepticism, still a baseline hostility from certain corners of the tabloid media, but there is also something new. A cautious watching. A sense that the narrative may be entering a new chapter and that people are not entirely sure how it ends. What does it mean for the institution if Harry does return more regularly? It is a complicated calculation. On one hand, a visible reconciliation between the king and his younger son would be a powerful human story, the kind that generates genuine public warmth. On the other hand, bringing Harry back into proximity with the royal machinery raises questions about his role, his status, and whether the wounds opened by his memoir and interviews can be managed in a way that protects the institution.